Welcome to On Your Own Terms. I'm Patty Talbot, and this is the place where we learn together what it takes to change the world on our own terms and in our own special ways. Today, I'm delighted to have with me a new friend named Lynn Whitbeck. Lynn is someone that I met on an amazing trip to India recently. We were traveling together, though we had never met before, through the Win-Win Women Network. We immediately struck up a great friendship because we got to shop together in markets. We got to learn together and travel together to the Taj Mahal and beautiful places like that and meet some extraordinary people. And like always often happens during trips like this, there's a special bond created through the common experience of learning and growing together, and sometimes being uncomfortable and having to solve problems together. That's what's extraordinary about getting outside of our comfort zone and traveling together. You often make new friends with the companions with whom you travel, as well as with the people in the destination, if you open your heart and your mind to new experiences. So Lynn and I met on this trip. And one of the things that I learned from her immediately through her speaking, but also in conversation with her, is that she has some wisdom and experience that I need. Because as a new entrepreneur who's been raised up, and my leadership experience is all in the realm of public education at the elementary and secondary and college and university graduate level, I never really thought a lot about sales because I didn't think I had to sell in my work. Not at least in the financial sense. But what I've learned through Lynn is I actually do have sales skills because all through my career as an educator, I had to advocate and negotiate and convince people not to do things they didn't want to do, but to create a shared vision together. What I've learned from Lynn is the importance of sales for all people and for all women in particular. You will be really fascinated by what for me was a unique take on homegrown solutions for a patchwork world. She's opened my eyes to a new skill set, but also a new way of thinking about that skill set for the benefit of women around the world. Here is Lynn Whitbeck.
I would say that my people are women and men who really want to seize life, to live the day. So they're driven, and yet they have a laugh in their voice and a spring in their step. And I'm that classic small town girl next door. And at my heart, that's who I am, where your word is your word. That's who you are at your core. You're just a good person. You want to do right by others. When I look back through my life of evolving from that girl next door through college and into working, I was so grateful that so many of the people that I connected with who became my peers, their word was their word. They believed in women moving ahead and grabbing the most of life. And that helped me so much, and falling really into sales in so many ways. I actually did make that conscious choice that I wanted to go into sales, which was my career and is still my passion, was because I love to help and serve others. And that was my whole outlook, was it enabled me to do that. And when I look at that background, that was all feeding that, selling Girl Scout cookies and getting that the badge for how many cookies I sold, to going and asking the owner of the business to let me go into outside sales. The first 2 weeks, he took me around. And so I started on April 1st, so April Fool's Day. And at the end of that first year, I'd outsold his partner. And the next year, I outsold the owner. And I never looked back. And it was really bringing that core essence of who I was and that desire to help and serve but at the same time, that energy and excitement and spring in my step and laugh in my voice, I think that made a big difference. I am very passionate about women having sales training. And the reason is that when you have sales training, it teaches you everything that you need to know about being a leader and being able to step into leadership roles, to move into your career in a more empowered way. You learn how to adapt and flex your style. You learn how to negotiate. You learn how to have conversations and build rapport. You learn how to guide decisions. And this is whether it's a decision so that you can get a raise or a decision to the board about an initiative that you want to pursue. And it's about nurturing those relationships that women are already so good at. Women, when they step into these roles of sales, they then can move forward in their career in a very big way. Now, you don't ever have to work in sales. All the top executives and CEOs have some kind of sales experience or background. And it's because when you're in sales, you're generating revenue, you're a rainmaker, and the perception as a woman is completely different. Now, the other thing is that when you get that experience, it enables you to step out and become an entrepreneur, to drive your own business. Because if you can't sell anything, you can't stay in business. Oh, come on. Here's the thing. You can work out of your garage and do all those things, but if you can't sell something, you're not going to be able to stay in business for the long term. The key about that, though, is also recognizing that as a woman, we have so many superpowers that are unique because of the way that we're socialized. We're socialized to be nurturing, to be quiet, to listen. All of that really pays off because when you listen in sales and you ask questions, your clients, your prospects are going to tell you everything you need to know to help guide them to a decision. And that decision could be that you're not the right fit. That's absolutely what you need to know. When you really embrace that concept of learning about sales, it's going to empower you in so many different ways. And it opens so many doors. I still remember this time I went to this car dealership looking for a car. And this guy was literally, this salesman said, literally like little lady, he says, well, are you aware of how much this car costs? And I went, are you aware of how much I earn? And I was just really ticked. And I went and talked to the sales manager. I insisted. And I said, I will not buy a car at this dealership. I would never buy a car at this dealership. And do you know, by the way, that the women are the decision makers? When the men come in, the women don't approve of their spouses or their girlfriends. They're not going to buy that car. So you're really missing out here, buddy. Later on, when I was married and my husband, every time he wanted to buy a car, it was like my passively saying, yeah, I like that color. So it was like my permission for him to buy the car. Women influence so many decisions about what's purchased. So when you're thinking about a boardroom and you're making a big corporate multi-million-dollar sale, it's the same thing. Who are those influencers? Who are the people guiding the decision? The whole point is that when you learn these skills, this is an incredible, powerful set of skills. These are what some people call those soft skills. Bull crap, they're performance skills. These are power skills, and they are going to open up the world for you of your choices that you have, the career paths that you take, your personal life, and how you approach things. So yeah, I'm really passionate about women getting involved in sales at some level. Sales is essentially the art of persuasion. True sales champions are never manipulative. They are never sleazy or slimy. This is about guiding people to a decision that they make, but a decision that's a good fit. And that also means that when you're in social advocacy, are those people going to be committed? Is this the right fit for something that they're passionate about and they believe in? And that there's different levels, because there's people who'll say yes and they might give money, but then there's people who say yes and they give time, or they start making phone calls, or they get really involved. And so it's finding people that have those shared values, that this matters to them. When you look at things like that, you're still looking for that's the core tenets of what are those 5 big heck yes questions that donor or that volunteer, that corporate executive who's going to spur this on, that you need to know that they're going to say heck yes to. And when you tap into that core piece of a part of my program is that you can then use that because you're still, at the end of the day, guiding someone to a decision. You're giving them the right information that they need, and you're adapting and flexing to their personality code, their style. And you're also recognizing if they're the right fit for you and your organization so that you can create this incredible impact. Because sales is about creating impact, whether it's for a business, helping them grow their business, helping them hire more employees, helping them give their team members raises or better benefits. All that also helps the community. And if they're creating a great product or service, then that in turn, it's a ripple that's then helping that community where you're doing the same thing in social advocacy. And so the principles are exactly the same. If you get stuck in your paradigm, you can't see anything around the outside of it. And if you don't embrace diversity of thought, then you're missing out. And you're going to potentially, it not only hurt you personally, but your business. It's really important that we recognize that we do have a paradigm, and it's so critical that we look outside of that box and around the corner. By embracing a growth mindset and embracing constructive input, that enables us to see an alternate perspective or angle that we had not considered. I have a team of young women, very diverse, that I'm constantly ask for input. I ask for advice and insights. Now, do they have the same level of experience and the years in the trenches? No, but they still bring a fresh perspective and something that I haven't considered. And they will challenge me on some of my thinking. And that's also really important. And one of the things that I do is sometimes I'll immediately say, well, wait, no. But then I go, well, wait a minute. Let me think about this. Let me process it. Let me consider it. Now, and sometimes I'm going to say, nah, I'm just going to keep going. I've had a couple people in my life tell me that I'm too happy, I'm too cheerful, and I laugh too much. And I said, this is somebody I respect and admire. This is something I need to consider. You know what? This is a core of who I am. I'm sorry, but I laugh, I'm cheerful, I'm happy, I live in joy. And I always look to how I can take any situation and look at the good, the bad, and the ugly and say, I have a choice to look at. There is a silver lining here somewhere. I just have to find it. And so that I can get out of the negativity. And there's nothing wrong with recognizing negative situations and going through that. Been there, done that. When my husband was diagnosed with terminal cancer, trust me, I had a 2-week pity party. But I could either stay in that very bad, dark place, doesn't serve me, doesn't serve my family, doesn't serve my husband, or I could look for how to make the best of what the situation was. He wasn't dead yet. We had every day could be a precious memory. And how could I help and serve him by taking the role of his health advocate? So I looked for the way that I could have an impact, and I did. Still most proud of that journey that we went on together. Now, that's the thing, when you look at diversity of thought, sometimes you're in this dark place and you need somebody who to come in and shake your shoulders and say, listen, there's a way out. You have the power to choose a way out. And in the darkest of times, there is another choice. And it can be hard to see and find that, but it's there. And you've got to grab it and you just got to go for it. Sales, you build this resiliency. People say no all the time. And you have to be ready and willing to ask for the sale and not afraid of the no. That life is full of no's. We've got negative Nelly in our head telling us no, no, no. You learn to say yes, yes, yes. It's no for now, but here's my yes. This is where I'm going. I'm not afraid of change. I'm not afraid to pivot. I'm not afraid to listen to new information coming in because I have the power to choose to change my mind. When you think about history, if we didn't have the power to choose and change our mind, women still wouldn't be able to vote. all kinds of people of color would be slaves. I mean, horrible, hideous things. They still go on right now. I don't get me wrong, but we have the power to choose a new path and to fight for that path. In the darkest of times, I just want everyone to remember, look for that, recognize it. And that's where that diversity of thought, that helps you recognize and look for the alternate solutions, the other way around the prism, what's outside of the box. My big impact would be teaching and training women in sales and how they can leverage those skills, whether it's to grow their own business, get their products and services out there to that help the world, to hire W-2 employees with great benefits. Having can be a thriving boutique business. Many of us, including myself, I don't want to be some kind of huge big deal in the sense of some huge corporation. Been there, done that. I love the feel of the intimacy. That's why all my programs are still done live. It's the human to human interaction. If I can help and serve women in that way, it directly impacts so many things. How we drive culture in our businesses. Small businesses run this country, run many, many countries. How it will impact the GDP, how it can impact benefits, not just on a business level, but on a state and federal level, of recognizing things that need to happen to give women power. As more and more women are business leaders and have that economic impact, you're a rainmaker, money talks. And when women are in those roles, of course, I'm always an advocate for women going into professional sales, but whether it's for their business or for their organization, being that rainmaker gets people's attention. As women business owners have successful companies bringing money in for their organization to make change, that is a game changer that gives us more power to influence how things are done, to get core things that need to happen in this country. National maternity paternity leave. Men also must take leave so that it's not just women leaving the workplace. Men need to leave the workplace too, but for their own soul, to spend time with that new child and make that connection. This serves men just as much so that they can get in tune with their other parts of their personality and their core self. They live longer, they live happier. This serves everyone. That's why I'm so passionate about teaching and training in sales. It's about the strategy and thinking these things through and planning it, and also knowing who you are and who you need to serve and what's a good fit so that you can really thrive, enjoy how you're helping and serving others. There is no room in this world for sleazy, manipulative crap. That's the great thing about this way to teach and train how to do business better, how to show up better, how to help and guide others, whatever endeavor you choose to pursue. The number one thing that I want to tell people is that you have the power to choose. I want you to really let that sink in about what that means, because you actually have a responsibility to make choices in your own life, for your family, your career, how you want to show up. It's also this gift, this incredible gift. And it's a gift of resilience as well, that you can choose a new path. I always like to say I'm the poster child of taking the long way around to travel a short distance. But my goodness, what a journey. What a journey. And that diversity of thought to allow me to pivot and change my mind and go in another direction. That power to choose in the darkest of times to find the light, because it's always there. You can connect with me on our website at petite2queen.com. That's like a petite woman and a queen-sized woman and the digit 2. And that's my representation of diversity. In this case, representing diversity in size. That's actually how we came up with the name of the company. I'm also the only Lynn Whitbeck on LinkedIn. And if you want to know more about how you can step into your own power and learn sales so that you can either help yourself in your career in your advocacy or in your business. We have lots of different options for you to work with us. And we have so many great resources for all the DIYers out there, tons and tons of resources that will help you move forward. You can also watch me on my TV show called Get More Clients, and you can find that on any podcast platform. If you like audio, if you want video, you can watch it on our website at petitetoqueen.com and on our YouTube channel. We also stream on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV through the Win Win Women Network. Patty, thank you so much for having me on the show. That's one of the great things about sales and the networking, because you and I essentially met where we made a business decision to go out, stretch ourselves, and we had this amazing connection. For all of you who think that you're just a wallflower who has to stand on the side of the room, remember, everyone else is scared too. Get out and step out of your shell and meet the amazing people that are out there. And Patty, I am so very grateful that we've made the connection that we have. And thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I so appreciate your perspective on the value of sales skills for women, whether they're working on their own business, in someone else's business, working in the C-suite, or working on some other kind of initiative that is important to them. Because we do have to learn how to use our voices, our relationship building, and our ability to build a common vision and take steps forward together in everything we do. I hadn't really thought about it as sales, but I've learned something new. I know that today we have just hit the tip of the iceberg of what you have to teach us, all people, but especially women, about how to develop their capacity for sales. I hope people will check out your podcast and your show, as well as the services that you have available through the Petite to Queen website. I love the metaphor of that, not just related to our various sizes that make us diverse as women, but also the size of our businesses. Are we doing small projects? Are we doing large and more regal projects? I love your message about the diverse voices that bring things together in balance with holding on to your own identity as a positive, outgoing, shining light. One of the things I remember from our trip together to India is how you positively lit up the stage and came alive. That joy that you were describing really comes through when you are teaching women about sales. I hope you'll also follow my work at blueroadseducation.org. If you go to that website now, you'll see at the top a one of many resource called the Overwhelm First Aid Kit. The Overwhelm First Aid Kit will help you overcome burnout and overwhelm with some key tips that you can implement right away. On the back of the Overwhelm First Aid Kit, you will see how to get in touch with One of Many Women, another amazing organization helping women to be the best that they can be, and how to get in touch with me in case you'd like a more personalized plan to work and overcome your overwhelm, because we cannot change the world if we are too worn out and exhausted to do so. Next week, we will have another change-making woman on our show to talk about how they are changing the world on their own terms with their own homegrown solutions for a patchwork world. In the meantime, may you be grounded in your beingness, guided in your doingness, generous in your connectedness, and inspired in your reflectiveness, so you can consciously change the world on your own terms. I'm Patty Talbot. I am always learning, and I'll bet you are too.